Salam sejahtera para penonton. Kita bertemu kembali di program Temu Bual Econ Roundtable. Sebuah rancangan yang mengupas isu sosioekonomi di Malaysia, amnya, dan di Sarawak khasnya. Bersama saya, Datuk Dr. Madeline Burma. Kita bersiaran dari World Trade Center Kuala Lumpur. Bersama saya adalah dua tetamu yang saya undang khas, iaitu Datuk Dr. Insinyur Muhammad Guntur Mansur Tobeng dan Profesor Datuk Dr. Kamruzaman Sophian. So, apa yang kita ingin bincangkan pada hari ini itu berkaitan dengan alternative energy. Kami di Sarawak ni kalau kita dengar pasal alternative energy, ini sesuatu yang sangat dekat dengan hati kami lah ya. Okey, ini saya dengan rakan dua-dua ini, dua-dua orang yang kuat ya dalam bidang alternative energy. Okey Prof, kalau boleh kita mulakan, bagaimanakah keadaan sekarang Prof? Dari pengamatan dan saya tahu Prof banyak menulis ya tentang alternative energy ni.
Okey, sebelum tu ya, saya ingin perkenalkan bahawa bila kita sebut mengenai energy, kita kena tahu apa itu yang primary energy yang sedia ada.
Okey.
Jadi primary energy yang sedia ada ni adalah, yang pertama adalah solar.
Solar.
Ya. Yang kedua adalah apa itu geothermal.
Okey.
Yang ketiga adalah yang berkenaan dengan marine base seperti tidal wave, ombak dan sebagainya.
Okay.
Yang seterusnya adalah nuklear.
Okey.
Jadi kalau kita kembali pada solar ni ada tiga. Yang pertama adalah dipanggil direct, yang kedua dipanggil indirect, yang ketiga dipanggil stored. Yang direct tu, itu adalah direct conversion of sunlight into either electricity or either into thermal energy.
Dari matahari kita convert direct.
Yes, itu dipanggil direct. Yang ini yang kita banyak tengok sekarang ni. Dan yang keduanya adalah dipanggil indirect solar. Dan indirect solar ni adalah tenaga angin dan tenaga hidro. Manakala stored solar tu, ini interesting ya, stored solar tu adalah satu dipanggil renewable hydrocarbon. Yang ini adalah biomass, biogas dan apa jenis biofuel yang ada. Dan seterusnya dipanggil, satu lagi itu dipanggil sebagai non-renewable hydrocarbon. Ini adalah petroleum, gas asli, arang batu dan juga hidro.
Maknanya once it's gone?
Shale, bukan hidro, saya minta maaf. Dan untuk Malaysia, ya, yang kita sejak tahun 80-an, kita punya conventional energy adalah petroleum, arang batu, hidro dan juga gas asli. Jadi alternatif kepada kedua ni adalah solar dan juga biomass. Jadi itulah yang lazimnya berlaku sejak daripada tahun 80-an lagi, sehinggalah beberapa akta-akta baru, polisi-polisi baru yang diperkenalkan sehingga tahun ini. Dia bersekitar kalau disebut alternatif tu, dia sekitar kepada solar dan juga biomass.
So itu macam seolah-olah saya baru masuk kuliah ni Prof. Thank you very much. Saya orang ekonomi, ini sesuatu ilmu baru yang saya baru pelajari ni. Bila kita sebut di Malaysia ini, yang mana yang buat katanya dari segi you are a businessman, why did you go into this area in terms of business? Di mana apa faedah dia? Kalau kita ingin tahu tu.
Okay, thank you very much, Datuk Madeline.
Yes.
As a business entity in the power plant business, power industry. In the energy industry, there are energy trilemma yang kita kena settle, kena handle. Number one, energy security. Number two, affordability. Number three, availability. So the energy security ni is talking about how many downtime can you afford to have.
What does that mean?
Downtime means dalam satu tahun berapa banyak masa yang boleh ada you can afford to have downtime. Maknanya in Malaysia our time is 1 day. Maknanya 1 day which is the second the best in ASEAN. Nothing more than 1 day. Kalau I think about 1 hour per incident tu pun dah lama. So 60 seconds. So that is the energy security. Number two, affordability. We want to check what is the least cost of dispatch. Kalau conventional energy in Semenanjung, you're talking about 23.77 sen per kilowatt hour per unit.
Kalau di Sarawak
But solar is now going about 18 sen per kilowatt hour. So it's already competitive. In Sarawak is even lower. Kalau you tengok, if you compare the electricity tariff between Semenanjung and Sarawak, in Semenanjung, we pay 57 cents for domestic.
Right.
In Sarawak, you're charging only about 13 cents. Sustainability is important aspect of energy. Maknanya, we make a commitment in COP21 that we want to reduce carbon emission reduction by 30% by 2025.
Right.
So this is the numbers that we are holding on it.
All right.
So in actually delivering this commitment, so we're doing a lot of programs.
Okay.
We have SEDA Act, we have Renewable Energy Act. So in the Renewable Energy Act, we talk about feed-in tariff to start. Masa industri ni start dulu, nobody buys the idea.
Okay.
Solar energy was costing about 11 million per megawatt or 10,000 per megawatt. Nobody buy.
Okay.
But with government punya policy, they do feed-in tariff. A lot of people embark into that. And today, the solar price has gone down to only about 3 million per megawatt. So it's already there. It's already getting more, much cheaper than the conventional energy. Right. And I was informed in Sarawak, there was about 15 companies who are actively involved in the solar hybrid, the solar off-grid and so on.
Right. Satu perkara yang saya nak tahu nanti kan Prof, ya, bila kita bercerita tentang energi nanti, we're talking about, tadi saya dah sebut tentang alternative energy. But what are the challenges nanti dalam kita nak menghala, nak membangunkan ataupun menggiatkan aktiviti ataupun membangunkan industri, when we say about the industry, because we are still thinking about, we are still conventional in our way.
Bila kita talk about bercakap berkenaan dengan isu tenaga, selalunya kita kaitkan dengan tenaga elektrik.
Okay.
Tetapi energy ataupun tenaga, dia tidak dalam bentuk elektrik. Dia dalam bentuk even haba.
Okay.
Jadi maksudnya di sini bahawa there are many forms of energy. Basically not in the form of electricity. Yeah, they are in the form of heat. For instance, there are many processes, for example, drying, space heating dan sebagainya. They only require basically hot air or hot water to do that. And I think it has to be looked into a broader aspect, bukan saja melihat energy dari segi aspek electricity. Dan selain itu saya lihat kalau state seperti Sarawak ni, dia ada many challenges. Antaranya saya rasa number one is Sarawak is the largest state, and you have 22% of your nation palm oil production come from Sarawak. So there is a lot of potential basically for that. But then there is a problem with respect to how to basically get the excess electricity into the grid. So there are a lot of other issues and challenges with respect to the infrastructure, even with respect to the legal structure. Yeah.
Kita kembali selepas ini sebab banyak sangat isu yang boleh kita bincangkan. So kita kembali selepas ini. Okey, kita kembali lagi untuk membincangkan isu yang sangat menarik pada hari ini, iaitu berkaitan dengan tenaga dan fokus kita lebih kepada alternative energy sebab tadi Prof dan juga Dr. Insinyur ada menyebut tentang pentingnya industri ini ataupun sektor ini kepada pembangunan ekonomi negara kita. Dan sebelum kita melangkah ke hadapan, apakah tadi cabaran yang disebut tadi kan? One of the major ones lah, Prof, if you can highlight.
Yeah, because the challenge is basically to develop a system basically that uses dia punya own resources. And there are ways basically to optimum resources. Where there are solar, you use solar. Where there's a biomass, you use biomass. And of course, the challenge is to integrate them, to centralize them, and that requires real challenge in terms of to get those energy to the grid. Jadi di sinilah banyak challenges dia. But I think it's not something that it cannot be solved. It can be solved.
So you see a lot of potential.
Yes, because the one that will make something go ahead is actually the economics. The economics of it. There are ways for you to combine all the energy, to hybridize all the energy, and at the end of the day, the energy, the cost of energy, the cost of energy per kilowatt, per kilowatt hour, that matters. That will decide whether you go ahead or whether you go to whether you go into an optimum mix of renewable energy resources, and that will be based on the thing that you have surrounding you. I give you an example. For instance, if you have a small village, and then there's a concept called net neutral renewable energy community.
Okay, what does that mean, Prof? If you can elaborate a bit.
In a village is net neutral.
Okay.
On an annual basis. They don't need to import anything from outside.
Right. Okay.
They produce as it is. They produce things that basically using the optimal mix of energy system that they have around. You have solar, use solar. If you have wind, use wind. You have mini hydro, use mini hydro, and you use that optimally. And then you can create income generation and so on from these sources of energy.
Okay. Now he was talking about dollars and cents. So I think this is where the business people really, you have mentioned earlier that kita rasa sekarang costnya sudah menjadi very kita kata memang kompetitif lah ya. So tetapi apakah dia cabaran ya apabila doktor dalam industri ini ya. Katanya tadi memang ramai yang dalam tu. So if you can highlight some of the business challenges and how can the government assist you? Or is it just basically you think everything is okay?
First, in context of Sarawak, the biggest challenge I think is the logistic.
Size.
Location, remote. Kalau perkampungan di sebelah Baram, ini very far out. But we are fortunate because state government of Sarawak is very brilliant in planning the whole thing. You have RES, renewable rural electricity scheme on the west coast, and then you have hybrid on the further deep, and then you also have renewable energies, RESS. So these are a good mix that can be that you can supply the electricity energy to the villages. So that's why when I see that this is a good opportunity that you have this in the past. The knowledge, the know-how was not available within Sarawak. But today in Sarawak, you already have about 15 to 20 companies who can bid for the projects and get the license, and capacity building are being built. So this is very good. And the other area that I see is maybe the challenges is the policy. The state government will have to reduce. You cannot have a very rigid policy. Like in Malaysia, we have Akta Bakal Elektrik. We have Suruhanjaya Tenaga to control the thing. In Sarawak, you have Electricity Ordinance of Sarawak. And then you have Electricity Inspectorate Unit, which is going to govern the whole thing. So these two entities have different approach and different way to govern the industry, make it more difficult. We had the same situation in Malaysia as well. But today, we are more flexible, we are more open with renewable energy coming, like solar in Malaysia. It is already a economic locomotive by itself. Government set a target of 6,000 megawatt. They're talking about 30 billion market cake to be shared. And every year you open up 500 megawatt to bid. As you know, economic means if the project viability is there and the bank finance you, then you're on your own. So the government just need to give a license and the industry will play by itself. It's market forces already. So I see that this is a big opportunity for solar business in Sarawak, because today we see that Sarawak use solar for rural area only. Solar hybrid, solar off-grid and so on. But in Semenanjung, we use solar as a renewable energy. So where you can sell REC, here alternative energy or renewable energy is something like very premium. People come and approach me to buy my REC certificate. Even people like Google who wants to get the carbon footprint they buy and so on. So these are very interesting. And I believe that if Sarawak has got a cheap electricity from hydro, perhaps you can invite a lot more data center. Because data center business, 30% cost is coming from electricity. So these are the industry that can go. But as for you to develop its own locomotive in Sarawak, probably similar program like the solar we have in Malaysia can be implemented for the Sarawak economies, so that everybody can become a player, the bankers can give loans, the rural people can be trained to become solar installer. I believe in 2013, I installed about 36 sites in the rural internet area. We have no idea what is Sarawak at that time, you know, when we went into area like Pulau Bruit, Dap, Tada, these are, oh my God. And then I went to Bario.
These are really,
we went to Long Kajang. We take 4 days to arrive, or with a 4-wheel drive. But it only take one and a half hour to fly, chopper, you know, Bak Kelalan, Bario, and so on.
That's a real challenge.
Yeah, it's exciting. So you see, when we were there in Bario, we just put up, they call it short takeoff and landing airport. So the airport is powered by solar and battery, no hybrid, because diesel is expensive then. Then that was the opportunity we see at that time. But there was no follow through from our side, of course.
I see.
The opportunity here was better, and the regulation and policy are being relaxed so that solar industry can come in and supply. Interconnection into the grid is more easy. So that's where the business are coming in. Same in Sarawak. I think the interconnection issues and the policy issue. You see, we want the industry to take charge and do it as a market forces to determine the business to grow by itself.
So that's a very interesting point. Tadi kita dengar isu logistik dan juga kita mendengar tentang isu policy dan juga logistik. So saya rasa selepas ini kita akan kembali untuk berbincang ke tahap bagaimana Sarawak dan Malaysia boleh pergi ke hadapan. So kita kembali selepas ini. Kita kembali lagi untuk membincangkan tentang tenaga dan juga alternative energy. Prof, ni saya dekat Sarawak tu, saya bila balik ke Kuching, adik-beradik saya semua bercerita tentang bus hidrogen. Apa itu bus hidrogen ataupun apa itu tenaga hidrogen, Prof?
Begini, actually hidrogen ni game changer.
Dia bukan bom?
Dia bukan bom, dia game changer. Hydrogen is actually when we talk about hydrogen economy, hydrogen itu sebagai energy carrier.
Energy carrier.
Seperti kita kata electricity sebagai carrier. Jadi hydrogen itu sebagai carrier. Jadi memang orang kata hydrogen ni meletup dan sebagainya kan. Tetapi kalau dia tak meletup, susah jadikan fuel lah. baik pakai kayu api je kan. Jadi the concept of the hydrogen economy as opposed to the concept of the conventional way is that we are transitioning towards the hydrogen economy. Jadi maksudnya di sini adalah the conventional way of doing now is that you from the power generation, you produce electricity, you distribute to the industrial sector, the residential sector and commercial sector. But if you look into the overall efficiency of it, it is about 30% or something like that. But using hydrogen, where you use the primary energy basically to produce hydrogen, and the hydrogen is basically then piped into certain location or make into gaseous fuel into certain location. So therefore, the means of the energy carrier is hydrogen. Now Sarawak basically is a way forward. When you have those refueling station, you have the transport station, and basically to produce hydrogen, the product of combustion, when you use hydrogen via the fuel cell, is that it's only water. Basically, it's H2O plus O2. You basically can drink the product of combustion. So it is the way forward basically, and it's going towards that transition. Everybody in the world is talking about it. And I think what Sarawak is doing is a first of its kind basically in the Asian region. And I think that that basically prepare yourself towards the hydrogen economy. And if the hydrogen economy is achieved, there is sustainability, no emission of gaseous greenhouse emission gases being emitted. So that's the whole concept of the hydrogen economy.
So it's very sustainable in a sense.
It's very sustainable because you just need water. And then you have plenty of water. And then the product of combustion is just hydrogen and water. And hydrogen can be used to power, for example, the fuel cell. And it's a very, very clean process.
So jadi bermaknanya
and with respect to safety, imagine if you have an LPG car and LPG car bang together, the whole adjacent car will be. But for hydrogen, because it's so light, the hydrogen has gone, long time gone. So it goes up this way. Then there's nothing happen much to that.
Right. Thank you, Prof. That is really very enlightening.
Safety aspect is hydrogen is the best.
So sustainability, safety.
Now you remember the Gothenburg incident in America, where this the Hindenburg. The explosion is not caused by hydrogen. And the envelope of yang blim tu, is actually made from benzene, with fabric that is basically embedded in benzene. So it was benzene the culprit, not the hydrogen.
It's not hydrogen.
The hydrogen has long gone.
A lot of people. But that is really
the people who died is people who jump from the blim.
Who died? Okay, that is very enlightening, Prof. Sebab Sarawak has really, like when it first came out, when the Yang Berhormat Perdana Ketua Menteri announced that we are going into it. So a lot of skepticism. So I'm so glad that a specialist like you, somebody, an academic who provides us with the kind of
we in the academic world, we never thought that Sarawak would be the first to do it.
So we're very lucky. Thank you very much, Prof. So I think we are on the right track. Now, the way forward, being in the business, what is it that you want to see being done in Sarawak or in Malaysia for that matter?
Number one, I think, is the regulatory reform and public policy support. We need support from the state government. Number two is the corporate commitment. We can make rules that we can give tax exemption for companies who generate electricity from renewable energy or alternative energy. And number three is financing mechanism. When I started my first solar farm, it was so difficult to get a loan. I have to went through about 8 banks and take about a year before we can finally find one bank, SME bank, to come and finance.
SME was that
SME bank. So Sarawak, you already have DBOS. Maybe DBOS can provide the loan. I think this is interesting. So what we want to do is we want to see empowerment from the government to the private sector to take up the initiative and to restart the economy. Because today everybody is very worried what's going to happen tomorrow. Destructive economy has taken place. So a lot of business that you were doing before is no longer valid after this. So we see that the renewable energy is an area. Probably if Sarawak can replicate what we do in Semenanjung, where we do large-scale solar, we open for bidding, and we do net energy metering. We train people, like what Prof said just now. Awareness is very important. So you do education, you develop the skill, you educate the public, so the public is aware of what is hydrogen, what is solar, and they know the benefit of it. From there on, you can go on. Even though Sarawak already has 72% renewable energy in the form of energy mix, so it means that Sarawak electricity is ready for energy transition index. So energy transition. So with this energy transition, then you are a global player. Global player means your REC. Like recently, Chief Minister signed MOU with Shell to identify how much carbon footprint are there and to monetize the REC. So these are these are the activity which is very interesting for the state. But for the layman, like people on the street like you and me and the contractor who do the work, so we can't have a piece of cake of that one. But if they were to be something like what we do here, where you do a net energy metering, you open for bidding, a willing buyer, willing seller can buy a solar panel and put on the house. So this could be a good startup or resetting of the economy in all the economic sector.
All right. Wow, this is really, really, really something very, very interesting. We hear about hydrogen, that Sarawak is moving towards the right track. And we hear now there is an opportunity provided we do a little bit of tweaking here and there. And especially you focus on, tadi disebut tentang dasar kan. So I think, and also like you said, there is, di Semenanjung, there is a bit of more openness in there. And di Sarawak, there is a lot of opportunities for the state. And I'm so glad that I heard that you have been to the state for bila dengar long tu aja kita tahu tempat tu satu tempat yang jauh. So ternyata Sarawak ini mempunyai potensi yang cukup luas ya untuk memajukan industri tenaganya, bukan hanya bergantung kepada, kalau kita dulu kita mendengar Sarawak banyak sangat bergantung kepada dams dan sebagainya ya, ampangan dan sebagainya. Tapi hari ini kita mendengar Sarawak mempunyai potensi dari segi hidrogen dan juga solar energinya. So sekian, saya rasa kita sudah sampai ke penghujung perbincangan kita. Jadi sampai di sini saja episod kita pada hari ini. So terima kasih kepada tetamu jemputan khas yang hadir berkongsi pandangan dan pendapat. Terima kasih kepada World Trade Center Kuala Lumpur sebagai lokasi studio kita. Kita berjumpa lagi di episod akan datang.